getting ready to do the first oil change after the break-in, and we're already running into problems. So we noticed that there was a drip under the car and all that, and I went and looked behind, and I was checking something out, and turns out there's an oil leak. Side note, that's from the AC. That looks good. But they put an aftermarket gauge with a metal wire on it, and they stripped it out and left it half wet. The top of the engine right there was completely covered in oil, so I'll have to clean that off. But also, on the inside, it started leaking too. As you see back here, there's a drop of oil. They swore they didn't want to put plastic line in here because, well, that's just junk and it leaks. Apparently, their craftsmanship leaves a lot to be desired. So, we're going to have to go and, that's better. We're going to have to go to the auto parts store. I'm just going to get a stock unit to plug into the idiot light for now till I can, do all that. I've never really been crazy about where they mounted that until I can actually put some real gauges and get everything set up. So we're going to run to the auto parts store and get a new oil pressure sending unit and just something to block the hole for now, and then hopefully it doesn't mushroom into something tragic. And then we'll come back here, we'll do the oil change, and we'll catch you up on everything else. On our way to the auto parts store, and the Crown Vic is doing Crown Vic things once again. So we'll see if this comes back or not. This is notorious for Crown Vics to do these things, so we got to go to the next town up. That's the nearest auto parts store, so we'll nothing. So we'll head that way and we'll see you there. Oh, welcome to Hayesville. This town was settled by Satan, or at least he established a police department. Ask anybody in the tri-state area. Nobody likes it here. And I don't understand why people continue to live here willingly. So why am I going here? Well, they have my auto part. So if I can slide in and slide out, least amount of pain possible, we can get back to the house. Well, we're here. Go see if they got what I need. That was a song back in the 90s. Alright, so we got the part. It's just this little piece right here. It's about 16 bucks. The only thing that scares me, well, they didn't put any thread tape around here, but I can do that, is that the fittings they stuck in the block are brass, so I'm going to have to be real careful taking those out. But this should screw right in, and that should solve that problem, and then we can get back to all the other problems. So let's get home and, hey, it started working again. Dash. So let's do that. Let me have it. It's working! Yay! Okay, so we're back from the auto parts store. Apparently the brass fitting is a 14, and I've got the right socket here. It's a deep well. I hate a 12 point, but that's what I have at the moment, so we'll be real careful with that. So let me show you what we're doing. Basically, we're just going right over the top of this, and we're going to give this a little bit of a turn. Oh, it's tight. I got to be real careful here. Oh, there it loosened up. The last thing we want is to break a brass fitting off in the block. Oh, there it goes. Well, apparently they use some kind of paste on it or something. It's brass. And there's debris that's falling into there. So now I have to get a vacuum to suck all that out. If you're going to use any kind, use some thread tape or a little bit of RTV or something. Don't use the paste, because what happens is it clumps up like this. And yeah, so that's what we're at right here. So let me get that cleaned out, and then we'll just go from there. Because the last thing you want, this goes into the oil pressure. This goes into the oil galleys, and the last thing you want is that crap in your oil system. So let's get that out. Okay, so we got it. Put some thread tape around it. So let me show you what we're dealing with. So there's the vacuum. I cleaned out that hole the best I could. All this is going to come out all the way through the firewall and all that. So basically this is just going to screw in that hole and that'll plug it up. Once you get it started, it's a 1 1/16 is the size of this particular thing, and just stick it on there, and you don't have to kill it, but just snug her up. So I got it all plugged in. I've got the idiot light plugged in. Let's see if that works. That's just gonna have to come out here in a minute or tomorrow. So yep, we got this all cleaned up. So let's fire this thing up and see if any more oil comes out. Well, that seems like it did the trick. So, yeah. Had to take a break there for a bit. It's about 100 degrees out here. But I said dare watch a couple episodes of King of the Hill. Reminded me of a story of back in the day when I first got out of the Army. Me and 3 other vets went down to play laser tag and went in there and basically killed everybody in the building. We didn't play laser tag after that. So yeah, the good old days. So now we're gonna change the oil, and I've got all the stuff here, so let me show you what I got. So I went and got a Wix filters here. I got this zinc hyperlube. It's for the engine. There's 15 quarts here of Castrol 10W30. This is I talked to a few people about what to get. The things that I didn't like about when I was doing this was I asked the guys who built the engine, what would you recommend for a follow-up? You know, what oil would you recommend? What this, that? They were zero help. And so I reached out to a guy I know who has a hot rod shop up in Michigan. And he's a big Torino fan. Rebuilt bunches of these engines. He knows these things inside and out. I asked him, and this is what he recommended. He said he wanted Castrol 10W40. I ended up getting 10W30, but whatever. And then he said, run that, get the engine hot. And then he said to put this in after it was warmed up. So I'll take his advice and do that. That's how he does it. Also got some Lucas automatic transmission fluid conditioner. It'll help straighten it out. So we're going to get the break-in oil out of it and go through that, look at the filter and whatnot, and then we'll do our own little analysis. So let's get the car jacked up, get under it, and we'll just go from there. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bits of sparkles in here. But this is, like I said, this is break-in oil. This is to be expected. So what my plan is, and why I bought so much oil, is that we're going to run this, get the break-in oil out. We're going to run this through another 1,000 miles, and then we're going to change it in the filter again to get whatever else is in there out. So we run 500 miles now. We're going to run 1,000 the next time, and then at the next 1,000, or probably in about 3 months, I'll just go ahead and change it again because, well, this car, come winter time, it's not going to get driven much. But I'll put 1,000 on it, and then we'll change the oil once again, and then that ought to be sufficient. But that's why I bought 2 filters, and I bought 2 things of zinc, and then I bought so much oil just to do this. Like I said, don't freak out on the break-in when you feel the oil and it feels a little bit gritty. That's to be expected. We're breaking the engine in, and there is going to be a little bit of metal and whatnot in there. So so let's get the car jacked up and go from there. So we got this loose. They put a ProTech Wix filter on here. There's really no way you can actually fill this up with oil before you Yeah, I'm left-handed. Before you, you know, put it on like it's, oh. Let's get a wrench on there. We got this off. There's really no way to charge. It's a Wix. So we'll get a wrench on here and get this off and drain this out, and we'll see what the oil looks like. So yeah, so far everything seems all right. Let's make sure we get that off, and let's see what this looks like. We got, yeah, they ended up stripping this. I'm gonna be just madder than hell. So far I've been less than thrilled about certain things. So let's see, there we go. So let's let this drain, and we will get back to this in a minute. Okay, so we've got the old break-in oil out. Let me show you the oil. It's a little sparkly, but it's not too bad. There should be a lot more. I'm getting to think that leak was a little worse than I thought. Probably burned some. I did check the oil a while back, not too long ago, and it was full. So this sure doesn't look like 5 quarts. This is more like 3.5. So that leaf wasn't in it. That was in the pan. So I'm going to take care of this. Let's see if I can't find a hacksaw. We're going to cut that apart. But first, let's get the oil in the car, and then we'll just go from there. So as per usual, I can't find a funnel. So I went and I cut an oil bottle in half and stuck it in there, and we'll dump that big thing in there. Hi. So we've got 4 quarts in. Let's check the dipstick. And it's just right above the full mark, but we are downhill. Up there we are. So yeah, this thing does take 5. If you're ever unsure about your capacities or anything, this is why a manual is always a good thing. So engine displacement cubic inches for 1972, 73, 351, 4, but you add an extra quart for a new filter. See? Engine crankcase, add 1 quart for new filter. So right here there's 4, so it takes 5. We put a new filter in. So yeah. If you're ever unsure, go straight to the source. Don't ask guys on Facebook. Seriously, don't do that. So we got 4 quarts, but we did put a filter in, so it said 5. So I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna fire it up, I'm gonna run it through, and then we're gonna drop that new quart in. I'm gonna run it, check it, and then run it again. Being a half a quart low or so is not really gonna hurt it. I just need to get it cycled through and see, and then we'll just go from there. Starting up a car after an oil change always makes me nervous. So let's see. Fire in the hole. Oh, there we go. Down here, check for leaks and all that. Everything seems fine. Now I do like having the oil pressure gauge, but when it's leaking and stripped out and all that, it's just not worth anything. We will be putting a new one in soon, but the stock idiot light and all that will work for now. The light doesn't come on, that's another story, but that's just a bulb issue. The same thing that happened with the 78 Ford when we just had to clean out the sockets from sitting. But so let's check the level. Okay, so we pulled the dipstick, and yep, it needs the other quart, so we're going to dump that in and go from there. So since I didn't have the right tools to do it the right way, I didn't show it, and I did it completely the wrong way. I got the oil filter apart with a Sawzall. Somewhere there's a picture of this with a red line through the middle of it. So let's get this thing taken apart and see what the inside looks like. So if you look through here, it looks pretty good. There's a little bit of sparkles through here, but overall it looks pretty good. As I go through here, there's no chunks, there's no you know, so it actually looks really good. Now follow over here and let's look inside the filter itself.
I don't know, I think I'm pointing at it.
You can see down in there, there's it's sparkly, so if you can see that. So yeah, trying to get a better view of it here. It's a little sparkly, but that's to be expected. That wasn't just from the Sawzall. So we're gonna let the car run for 5 or 10 minutes with the new oil, and then we're gonna add the supplement in. This is what I found. It's a zinc and phosphate. It's a Rislone thing. It's for antique cars with flat tappet cams. This is what I was told, recommended to put in. So, well, the guy I know. So hey, we'll put this in. But he said the car needs to be hot when you put it in. So I guess it helps distribute it better or something. So let it run for a couple of minutes, and then we'll dump it in, and then we'll wrap this up. As it's warming up, we got just a little over 3.5 quarts out of it. You can see that. Yeah, there we are. It's right at 3.5 quarts. And with it leaking, that makes sense. So between that and chances are they only put 4 quarts in. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. There's some things that have been here that just haven't made sense. So I mean, the valve train's actually quieter now, so let it run, like I said, a couple more minutes, and then we'll finish this up. So as you saw, we got the brake-in oil change done and fixed the oil leak out of the sending unit. Probably got a par for the course, but there's still a long ways to go on this car. And truthfully, guys, I'm not monetized, so it's going to take a while. You know, this is real world here. I don't get paid for any of this. So if I got to buy a new carburetor or anything like that, that all comes out of my pocket. Real world, like all of you guys, this stuff costs a lot of money. There's no sponsors here. And that's just kind of it. You know, I spent a lot of money, and it took me several years to save up to get it done. And frankly, there's a lot of things I'm not happy about. But, you know, it is what it is at this point. So we got the first oil change done. I need to hook the tack up. I need to go over the front end. I need to make sure the rear end has decent fluid in it. I also need to, I got a new stereo and speakers for it. That would be nice. Got full Bluetooth and the whole ordeal to go in there. But as for the engine and all the components, truthfully, there was no fine tuning, and the shop, for what I paid for it, I expected a whole lot more. And you're going to run into this. And especially in this day and age, especially in a post-COVID world, are you dealing with a guy who's actually good at his craft, or is he just the kind of the guy that survived? And a lot of times when we're dealing in situations like this is just what you have to deal with. So that's kind of where I'm at with this now. Like I said, there's a lot of work to be done. I actually gonna glue the grill back together. I have a brand new grill in the house, but it's just kind of what we're dealing with. All the fine tuning and all the nuances and things of this nature, and we'll go over that in another Torino video. But there was a lot of things that I thought would be done that aren't done. Like, I was assuming that with this kind of money I'd be getting a brand new carburetor, at least a rebuilt one. I'm not even sure they touched that. they took the kick down rod off and put a cable on. Well, the cable doesn't work right. And if you're not careful, you can actually burn the transmission up because you're overworking it. So I need to put the rod back in because the cable is not set right at all. It needs to be retuned. It just needs all sorts of things. They spent all the money, made it look pretty, and kind of just, there's a lot of things on it that shocked me that were just completely half-assed. Like the sending unit. The fact that that was stripped tells me that they were just in a hurry. Why would you let that go? I gave it a turn and I knew it was stripped. And as we saw the oil that was all over the back of it. So that's kind of where we're at with this now. Said got the oil leak fixed. We probably put another 100 miles on it yesterday after we got the oil change. This is the next day. And so, you know, it's the air conditioning is okay. I wasn't expecting a lot of things. I'm just glad to have it. But aside from that, so we got a lot of work still left to do on the car, and it's going to need front end work. It's going to need the rear end gone through. Truthfully, I think I have a bad bushing back there. I need to put shocks on it and probably new front rotors, which is a whole thing in itself. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But first oil change, and if you do an engine and have one built, or even if you build it yourself, these are the things that you're going to have to go through. You know, you're going to need to cut the filter open. You're going to need to be the acceptant. There's going to be grit in it because of all the assembly lube they use and the break-in oil and all that. So it's going to take a couple of oil changes to really flush this thing out. But if you do it right and proper and you got a good engine rebuild, it'll be worth it. But it takes time and you can't get in a hurry. You just have to kind of just go through the motions, do it correctly, because if I'd gotten this thing and hammered on it first day out, I probably would have wiped the cam out by now. That's usually the first thing to go when you go hammer on it. The guys say if you want it to run hard, you got to break it in hard. Don't do that. You know, just you break it in and you ease into it, and eventually the car finds its happy spot, and you two learn each other. You build a relationship with the car. So, well, that's all I got. Just thought I'd share about the first, what I'm going through with it right now, and we'll see a little more of it later, but there's more trucking stuff coming, and some more Crown Vic stuff, but it's really hot, and I'm going back inside where it's cool. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. See you next video.